The Favourite, a peek behind the curtain of an alternative world of the upper class and Queen Anne. A dive into grief and the impact on the mind, alongside manipulation, vulnerability and the hubris of people in their drive to succeed. Directed by Yorgos Lanthimos, starring Olivia Colman, Emma Stone, Rachel Weisz and Nicholas Hoult, to name a tiny few. Welcome back to my channel, and today I'm going to be taking a look at The Favourite, reviewing it and exploring what I took from this incredibly unique movie. To set the stage for this review, I'm actually going to go back and talk about a previous film by the director, Yorgos. The Lobster is set in a dystopian society. Those that are single must find a mate within 45 days, and if not, they are then transformed into an animal that they choose. It's all set in a hotel, a form of a facility. Yorgos' films take social issues and then portray them in a fictional universe, tackling very uncomfortable but also everyday topics, using comedy peppered through to add some levity to the topics at hand. So now you know what The Lobster is about, imagine that, but times 10. This is Yorgos' style cranked up to 1000, this is The Favourite. The synopsis is, in the early 18th century, England is at war with the French. Nevertheless, duck racing and pineapple eating are thriving. A frail Queen Anne occupies the throne, and her close friend Lady Sarah governs the country in her stead, while tending to Anne's ill health and mercurial temper. When a new servant, Abigail, arrives, her charm endears her to Sarah, and Sarah takes Abigail under her wing, and Abigail sees a chance to return to her aristocratic roots. We explore a take on Queen Anne. Though elements are factual, the entirety of the film is not. We see Queen Anne, played by Olivia Colman, a woman who is clearly unhinged, insecure, stricken with grief at the loss of her 17 children, which she lost either as miscarriage or stillborn. Now, for any history buffs out there, you will be aware that this is part true. However, she did have 5 live-born children, 4 died before they reached the age of 2. Although the trailer makes out that the movie is centered around Queen Anne, Yorgos actually uses her as a character for exploration of grief and how it can unhinge a person, leaving them deeply affected for the rest of their lives and leaving them open and susceptible to manipulation, a very vulnerable position to be in. The other main characters that we see are again part fictional but also part historically accurate. Rachel Weisz plays Sarah Churchill and Emma Stone plays Abigail Marsham. Sarah and Abigail are cousins. Sarah is the favourite of the Queen and Abigail then enters the fray. These two characters are how the story progresses around the Queen. Abigail was from noble blood and fell into hard times. Sarah, close with Queen Anne, is coercing the Queen into doing her bidding, manipulating a very vulnerable woman and preying on her emotions. Abigail learns of Sarah and Queen Anne's secret and uses this as leverage to ensure she goes back to her noble state. Now, the thing with this movie, I would say, first and foremost, go and watch The Lobster. If you've watched The Lobster and you enjoyed it, then you will likely enjoy this. If you didn't or you haven't, then this movie may be a little bit too much for you straight off the bat, or you could risk spending money on something that you really dislike. By and large, this movie is something that I would say is an acquired taste. But let's talk about the technical aspects of this film. The music is fantastic. It accentuates the film so very well. The cinematography is where Yorgos excels though. It's a very unique style, wide lenses, tracking shots, fisheye shots and close-ups, and it's all peppered in and blended to a very high degree. It's unlike any other film that you would have seen before, at least in the style and the way he presents it to the audience. The comedic aspect of this film is genuinely funny. There are laugh out loud moments in this movie that came quickly and unexpectedly, but again, they are peppered through this film just enough to add some levity to the heavy topics at hand. It's definitely not for everyone, and I would imagine many people who are really into their history may actually have some issues with this with respect to how certain relationships are portrayed, but either way, I can recommend this film. If you want to see something different and something that has clearly been well crafted and had time, care and consideration put into it, The Favourite is something that you may enjoy. It is a great exploration of grief, what people are willing to do at any cost to succeed, and just how sick people can be in that endeavour, who and how they choose to manipulate, and of course the ramifications of those actions. That being said, I will now discuss briefly spoilers, so if you are new here and you choose to leave, please do consider subscribing for more reviews like this in the future, but that being said, you have been warned. Warning, here are spoilers. So again, really big spoiler here, so please click off. Sarah and Queen Anne are lesbians, sort of. Anne likes the affections of women, and more so Sarah. Abigail then learns of this and uses it to her advantage, coercing the Queen into bed with her. She uses this as leverage. It is quite a shocking reveal. It's something which you sort of see coming and it's kind of teased here and there, but when it is just out and out stated, it is quite a shocking reveal. However, it's something which is easily teased from the outset of the movie. In terms of how this film kind of sets up its structure, it's almost set in terms of chapters. And if you look at the main poster and how the font for the title of the film is shown, it chucks in these chapter titles with names which are related to parts within the chapter itself. It's a really, really unique way of sectioning up a film. It's not really a first, second and third act by any means at all. I believe off the top of my head there was maybe 10 chapters in the overall film, and some are long, some are short, but it's a really great way to segment a film up and also break from the first, second, third act kind of story beats which you come to expect from movies in this day and age. The props and the locations and the sets are very, 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 very good. And like I say, the comedic aspect is great. I mentioned at the start of this film, Nicholas Hoult was in it. Of course, a lot of people will remember him from, About a Boy, and also more recently Mad Max Fury Road. He is really good in this. And also, I need to research how tall this man is, because in this film he looks ginormous, and it's something which I'd never really noticed before. So he is an actor which is definitely up on my watch list now. He's portrayed so many good things recently. He's really diversifying his portfolio of work, and The Favourite is no different. It's a really, really good part for him. Overall, the story and kind of the spoilers, there's not too much to spoil. Like I say, the big reveal is just the fact that Queen Anne and Sarah are lesbians, they like each other. Off the back of that, again, there's not overall much to spoil about it. It really is that story driven in terms of the manipulation, the vulnerability of grief, and what it leaves you open to. Queen Anne, obviously 17, tragic miscarriages, stillborns, whatever. That situation there really puts that woman into a fragile state, and unfortunately Lady Sarah really took advantage of her. And in terms of the historical accuracy of that, there were some rumours and rumblings of very close relationships, but obviously nothing else outside of that is kind of confirmed. In terms of the historical accuracy about that, I'm not even going to dispute whether that is accurate or not. It's not for me to debate here. But in terms of a movie review, it's a great film. I can recommend it, but it's very, very, very different. I know I've rambled a little bit here at the end in the spoiler section, but again, it's one of those films which you can't really spoil, but there are elements which you have to discuss which may detract from the story if you haven't seen it yet. So I don't want to spoil too much. I really would encourage you to go and see it. It's a different kind of film. I would really encourage you guys to go and watch The Lobster first, because that will help set the tone of that movie, The Favourite, afterwards. So guys, please do let me know what your thoughts down below in the comment section. As always, if you are new here, please do hit that subscribe button, stay up to date on all the world of pop culture and movie news, and also these movie reviews. If you don't already, please do follow me over on Twitter and Instagram at Mr. H Reviews, and consider please becoming a patron, because YouTube is consistently changing its monetization options and policies and all that nonsense. So yeah, becoming a patron really does help the channel out, and you can see a link to that page in the description box. Anyway, I've talked for far too long. As always, I've been Mr. H. Take care.